What's up, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Black Ops 2 with Maximilian. Today I wanted to run into some tests. Sometimes it comes with a lot of these new Call of Duty games, you really need to start breaking things down to understand how things work on a deeper level and how much they actually affect gameplay. And the one thing I wanted to test that hasn't actually been thoroughly looked at yet is one of the most popular, if not what seems to be one of the most important perks to use in the game, and it is the third perk category, and it is Dexterity. So, for you guys that don't know, Dexterity allows you to exit your run animation faster and mantle and climb objects faster as well. Now, this immediately seems that between all the other options that you get in the third perk category, there's things like Awareness and Dead Silence, which are extremely moot, but you also get things like Tactical Mask, Engineer, Extreme Conditioning, some other stuff that could also be pretty useful, and you kind of have to make a decision sometimes because you really want to exit your run animation faster, so in case you run into a dude around a corner, you know, you get the quicker advantage on a kill. So we're probably asking each other, what's the advantage you get to this kill? Is it like a quarter of a second? Is it half a second? How much of an advantage is it that Dexterity actually gives you? And that's what we're going to be testing today, to see how good Dexterity is. And through my findings, you guys might be a little surprised about the effectiveness of this perk. So let's start breaking this thing down, and let's take a look at each of the main weapon classes. So we have shotguns, we have LMGs, we have SMGs, and assault rifles we're going to test today. And we're going to see what Dexterity does to the weapon once it's on, and also find out how the weapon acts without Dexterity at all, to see if it's really necessary. In order to make this test accurate, since Dexterity doesn't depend on your aiming speed or anything like that, all it does is make you exit your run animation faster. So to let you guys know what I did for this test, is simply press in the right stick or the left stick if you're playing on like the PlayStation controller. You just run and then you press the fire button. The game will automatically exit your run animation, and as soon as you see a muzzle flash or anything come out of your gun, that's the time we're testing, how long it takes to exit your run and go into the firing animation. So here's a quick rundown. These are all the weapons I aforementioned, and it's going to go by really fast, but we're going to put things into slow motion, start counting frames, and see what the time difference actually is. So let's take a look. So let's slow things down and take a look at the results. It looks like SMGs without Dexterity take about 0.2 seconds to fire. That is a fifth of a second. So that's not bad, all things considered. It's really not that long. With Dexterity, it takes 0.1 seconds, so it effectively cuts it in half, turning your time to fire into 1/10 of a second. So that's kind of interesting. It's not as big of a change as I would like, but it is half. Assault rifles without Dexterity go from 2.67 seconds, so this takes you about a fourth of a second, just above that amount, to shoot your assault rifle from a full running animation. And if we add Dexterity on, will we see a pattern here? Yes, it cuts it in half to 0.133 seconds. So this is getting fairly close to SMGs at this point. So if we move on a little bit and we start looking at the shotguns with no Dexterity, we see 1.67 seconds is the time to fire. Just a bit under a fifth of a second. These times are so minuscule when you actually put things into perspective. If you actually add Dexterity to a shotgun, your time to fire is now 0.1 seconds, so the pattern has now been broken. You do not actually get it cut in half. It brings it down to a tenth of a second instead of about 1.5. So this is some interesting results here. I think if we move on to LMGs, it takes quite a while, so this is going to take about a third of a second to fire an LMG from running animation without Dexterity. And with Dexterity, maybe we'll see the similar result. Will it be cut in half? Actually, it's not. With LMGs, and if you add Dexterity, it brings it down to a balanced 1/10 of a second. So there are some pretty interesting results here. Dexterity definitely works a lot different than what people might think it does. SMGs cut things down by about half if you add Dexterity, the half going from 0.2 seconds to 0.1 seconds, so literally taking a fifth of a second to a tenth of a second to fire. Going from assault rifles, we have about just approximately a fourth of a second, going down to just above a tenth of a second. and that one isn't too bad. The time cut halfway by that one is much more affected than SMGs. Moving on to shotguns, it goes from 0.167 seconds to a tenth of a second, so 0.1. And that one is really interesting because the pattern has been broken and no longer is the game cutting things in half. Shotguns effectively need to fire as fast as possible, and you are not getting that much with dexterity in that one. And finally with LMGs, we go from about a third of a second to, shockingly, a tenth of a second. You can fire really quickly with an LMG immediately after a run. So the breakdown from this is, quite literally, if you look at the other things that are in the third perk category, there is some stuff that is much more useful. I have found myself living much longer now that I've been running something like Tactical Mask, and in my perk 1 slot I have something like Flak Jacket. Tactical Mask ignores all those shock charges, all those crazy powerful stun and flash grenades, all that stuff that really bugs you, especially in game modes like Domination. You don't have to worry about it anymore, you just run by it like it's literally nothing. Tactical Mask and Engineer are both really powerful perks, as well as Extreme Conditioning, which does help. So you might want to reconsider your third perk selection, but overall, if you're running an LMG, I would highly suggest running Dexterity, unless you want to run something else. I think Dexterity might be good if you combine it with several other perks, like if you actually use something like Lightweight in your first class setup, if you also use the aim down sight faster attachment for your weapons. Combine these things together and you have something that might make Dexterity effective when combined with other perks, but if you're just using Dexterity to be like a little bit quicker, it's really not worth it, guys. This is at least my opinion. You might have a little bit of different varying opinions, but based off this evidence, some things might be off by like a tenth of a second, some things might be off by like even less than that. So it really means that you should probably rethink what you're doing with your third perk category. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. This one took kind of a long time to put together and piece together all these pieces of data and facts, so if you got something out of it, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up, and if you enjoy Black Ops 2 gameplay footage or analyzing data like this, subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it, and I put up videos almost every single day, including fighting games and Black Ops 2 coverage. But until next time, my name is Maximilian, signing out.